Welcome to Grassroots Rising. I'm your host, Jimmy Skogard. Today we talk about the digital fence line. Today's episode is about boundaries, respect, and shared stewardship. We use fence lines in the real world as boundaries. Our digital world also needs boundaries. It needs a digital fence line. When I open Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, or any other feed, I'm not stepping into a neutral pasture. I'm stepping into a field shaped by repetition, emotion, and design. The posts that stir fear rise quickly. The clips that provoke anger, outrage stick hard. The half-truth that gets repeated 10 times starts to feel familiar, and the familiar starts to feel true. That is how the line gets crossed. That is how our judgment gets worn down. A fence line on the property line keeps the cattle where the cattle belong. A fence line in the mind keeps the noise from turning into habit. I've been thinking about how easy it is for us to grow used to what once would have stopped us cold. A year ago, maybe two, some of the uglier memes and the colder language would have felt like a trespass. Now, a lot of us scroll past it like it's the weather. It's just part of the danger. The mind adapts. The mind hardens. The repeated messages sink in through sheer repetition. Familiarity starts wearing the face of wisdom and truth simply because it keeps showing up at the gate. Freedom requires attention and choice. Drift begins when repetition takes the reins, and drift has consequences. When our feeds are full of contempt, we start to expect contempt. When our news becomes infotainment, we start confusing performance with truth. When every clip is cut to keep us agitated, we begin to live in agitation. Our suspicion grows. Our trust shrinks. Neighbors begin to look like enemies. That is our terrible trade. So here is the question. What does stewardship look like in a digital world? It looks a lot like walking a fence line. It means we stop acting like passive consumers and start acting like caretakers. We can hide the poison. We can mute the account that keeps feeding outrage. We should report the post that is built to deceive or inflame. We must silence the channel that keeps training us to react instead of thinking. The big platforms already give us tools, even if most of us do not use them. Facebook lets us hide posts, mark content as not interesting, snooze a person, page, or group for 30 days, and unfollow without ending the relationship. Instagram lets us mark suggested posts as not interested, block suggestions from certain accounts, snooze suggested posts, and reduce recommended political content from accounts we do not follow. X lets us say we're not interested in a post or a topic. Mute accounts, mute words, and hashtags, block and report. YouTube lets us mark a video as not interesting, tell the system not to recommend a channel, and use that feedback to shape future recommendations. These are small tools, but small tools how a fence line gets maintained. That matters. A boundary does not mean hatred. A boundary means care. A rancher does not go repair his gate because the neighbor's the enemy. A rancher repairs a gate because the land deserves attention and the stock deserves protection. Our minds deserve that same care. Our children deserve adults who know how to say enough. Our communities deserve neighbors who check facts before sharing fear. I'm coming to believe that self-government starts here. Before we govern a town, a country, a state, or a nation, we govern what enters our minds. We must decide which voices earn repeated access. We must decide which sources deserve our trust. We decide whether our attention will be rented out to the loudest manipulator or steward with discipline. That is the digital fence line. Once I saw it that way, the job became much simpler. Walk that line. If a post leaves me angry and empty, walk that line. If a headline gives me heat but no facts, walk the line. If a channel sells spectacle while calling it news, walk the line. If an algorithm keeps pushing contempt into my pasture, walk the line. Hide it, mute it, unfollow it, report it, turn it off, then replace it with something better. Read deeper, check the source, listen longer, talk with a real neighbor, sit at the kitchen table, ask one honest question. Build a feed and a life with more truth and less theater. That's what stewardship looks like. That's what respect looks like. That's how we begin to reclaim the boundary between information and manipulation. If your feed has started to feel like a trespass against your peace, against your judgment, your sense of neighborliness, then it's time to walk the line, tighten the wire, reset the post, close the gate. Guard what enters your mind with the same care we bring to the land, the stock, and the home. Because free people still need boundaries. Because a healthy mind still needs stewardship. Because the future of our communities depends on what we allow to take root inside of us. If you've felt the drift, then it's time to rise. Walk to your digital fence line. Hide what poisons. Mute what manipulates. Share what you've checked. Start one honest conversation with a neighbor this week. Because agency means the ability to decide our future for ourselves. We still hold that power, but only if we use it. Our children and our grandchildren's legacy is in our hands now. Will you join the movement at SchoolGuard2026.org? Thank you for listening. I'll talk to you tomorrow.